What are some deeply unsettling facts? There may be as many as 30-50 active serial killers in the US according to the FBI. You sometimes hear that people go missing never to be found. Right? Here's some news. Some serial killers are good at their hobby and are never detected and caught. When falling from extreme heights and landing, the human body doesn't splat. Bodies bounce, crushing multiple bones and destroying insides. Edit. I found that this was put into an article on Thought Catalog. Thank you guys. Also, people who jump off the Golden Gate Bridge usually die a very painful death attempting to swim with broken arms and legs. You may never know if you've gone insane. That's a plus. I have 5 siblings. One of us will attend 5 funerals. Another one of us will attend none. There are approximately 20 to 30 million slaves in the world today. The first firefighter killed responding to the 9/11 attacks was struck dead in the courtyard by a falling body. 2 people killed simultaneously, one on his way in, the other on their way out. Wow. That's the saddest thing I've read in a while. Those poor people. A woman survived 9/11 only to die when a plane crashed into her place in Queens a few weeks later. There are as many as 100,000 active missing persons cases in the US at any given time. Some of these missing persons are undiscovered bodies. Some are people living among us under a different identity hoping to never be found. The crew of the doomed Space Shuttle Challenger didn't die instantly but likely were alive and aware of everything up until the crew capsule hit the water at 207 miles per hour. I panic when the plane descends too quick. I couldn't imagine how terrible it would feel to drop at 200 miles per hour knowing you're not even attached to the wings anymore. CPR only works 7% of the time outside of a hospital environment. 100% of the time in Hollywood though. If you are a certain distance from a nuclear explosion, you won't be killed immediately but instead, you'll get 3rd-degree burns throughout your entire body. This kills your nerves so fast that it's completely painless. In John Hersey's account Hiroshima he talks about trying to lift people into a boat and having the skin on their hands and arms just slide off like gloves. You could be bleeding internally right now and you might not even feel it until it is too late. This one was the worst one for me. I am now terrified. When my parents were born, there were only 2.5 billion or so people on the planet. Not even one lifetime has gone by and it's already hit 7.6. There are a huge amount of illnesses that aren't curable or even treatable. We have this idea that we go to a doctor. They find out what's wrong with us and then fix us. There are many illnesses that make doctors throw up their hands because they don't even know what is causing us to be unwell. And people are often ill for years. Or life. Every picture you pose for could be the one used in your obituary. One of these things will happen. Someone will find your dead body. Someone will watch you die. Your dead body will never be found. Invalid as I don't die. Intrusive thoughts. Have you ever stood on the edge of a train platform and thought I could push someone into this oncoming train and there'd be nothing they could do about it? Or while driving on the highway, thought I could just swerve my car to the right and kill the family in the minivan next to me instantly. Many strangers have fantasized about killing you. And you'll never know it. If you become an astronaut and are in the ice when an apocalyptic asteroid hits, you could be among the last few humans left alive. With a limited oxygen supply, limited food supplies, and no external assistance in returning home or surviving. In all likelihood, you will attend your best friend's funeral, or they will attend yours. You are 6 minutes away from death. Breathing resets this clock. Your eyelashes are full of microscopic 8-legged eyelash mites. They live, lay eggs and reproduce in your eyelashes. Maybe I have friends after all. Not just friends. Creatures who literally need you to exist. You are a king and they are your serfs. My friend. More than 7,500 Americans remain unaccounted for from the Korean War. There was a young office worker in the second tower hit on 9/11. He took the elevator to the lobby but was convinced by the security guard to return to his office, which he did. The second plane hit, so he was trapped in his office with no escape. There's even a recording of him speaking to his father on the phone, lamenting the fact he should have just left and not listened to the security guard. He died. I worked in Lower Manhattan during 9/11 and still do. There are a large contingent of office workers who now go downstairs during an alarm regardless of what security might say. Myself included. About 200 dead bodies are still on Everest because it's more effort and risk than it's worth to retrieve them. Some of them serve as progress markers for other climbers. It's like a human high score table. Kind of. But not really. There are people who are lower down who actually made it to the summit, but then died on the descent. In fact, that's actually the most common reason. They use all their energy getting to the top. And by that time they've run out of daylight, oxygen, and energy. They abduct. And on the descent they end up stranded and unable to continue. A blue whale has veins so large you could swim inside of them. Nothing like a good old swim inside a meat tunnel. Since 2012 the US military has lost more soldiers to suicide than to combat or accidents. And outnumber people by about 1,000,000 to 1. In Wyoming, cows outnumber people 5 to 1. If they staged a revolution, game over. There will come a time in the not too distant future that someone will think of you for a final time. Before everything you feel like you've accomplished in your life is lost in time for the whole of eternity. That's what statues are for. A brain aneurysm can happen at any time. To any living healthy person. That will cause instantaneous death. But also has nearly no prior symptoms for detection. So you could just breathe your last breath at any moment in your life and there is nothing to warn you of it. That even if you try your absolute hardest, sometimes things just straight up can't go your way, and that's just the way the world is. Love someone? Well, it doesn't matter unless they love you back. It is possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. That is not a weakness, that is life. Statistically, about 10 people who commented here won't make it till Christmas. 70% of American adults are overweight or obese. Most of the leading causes of death in America are obesity-caused illnesses. Can't beat those boxes that come with every ducking menu item for $5. Maersk, the world's largest international cargo ship, emits the equivalent pollutants of 50 million cars. There are 6 ships that are of similar size and they account for an equal amount of pollution as all of the cars on the road. These ships burn 16 tons, 32,000 pounds, of fuel per hour and about 380 tons per day. They exploit loopholes to use ultra-cheap heavy bunker fuel, which is the refuse from lighter fossil fuels. Essentially tar. Source. Even if humanity somehow survives for an extremely long time, nothing will survive the heat death of the universe. The US government took a bright, intelligent, 16-year-old Harvard student and turned him into the Unabomber. Polish government tried the same with Brunon Krejci. Basically, once CB, Polish counterpart of FBI, spotted him writing about something having to be done on an internet forum. They maintained contact with him, supplied him with resources to create a GOM, only to capture him at the last second and make a major fuss about Polish government being at risk. That someone watched the B-movie 357 times this year. A nuclear bomb was accidentally dropped over South Carolina in 1958. Would have made the fat man dropped on Nagasaki look like a firecracker and completely changed us history if it detonated. Then that happened again over North Carolina in 1961. Except this time it was 2 bombs. One of the North Carolina bombs deployed its parachute, had its trigger mechanisms engaged, only one low voltage trigger kept it from detonating upon landing. Net neutrality is likely to die this month. A huge step back for open knowledge in the United States and the rest of the world, slowing down the progress of humanity. the pursuit of knowledge for all. Also, a few corrupt suits can have a payday. It isn't over yet. Fight for it before you regret it. Nope. The rest of the world is fine for the foreseeable future. The fact you have to fight for open internet signifies something wrong with your government at the deepest and most basic level. In Japan, most phone cameras make shutter sounds even when in silent mode to prevent upskirt pictures being taken without consent. The fact that this was enough of an issue that it needed to be taken such actions against is insane. One day, you and all of your childhood friends went out to play for the last time. And none of you realized. In 1933, a doctor named Carl Tanzler raided the tomb of a female patient with whom he'd become obsessed and stole her body. He lived with the corpse for 7 years. As the body fell apart, he attached the corpse's bones together with wire and coat hangers and fitted the face with glass eyes. He was only caught when someone saw him dancing with the corpse in front of an open window. There's going to come a time when you pick up your child, set them down, and never pick them up again. War always ends too late for one person. I can't give you any details, but I read about one dude in WW1 or WW2 who died just a few minutes before the armistice was signed. You can get more jail time from pirating movies than child abduction. Bubba in prison won't kick your ass as hard for pirating though. The universe is expanding. This expansion is actually getting faster, not slower. Eventually, space will expand so much that all galaxies will fade from view. One that always got me was in one of my criminal justice courses. The sheer amount of drunk people on the roads that don't get caught is depressing. One that's bothered me over the years is also how often innocent people are put into prison. My father was put into prison for 12 years for something that was later proven to be false, and he was cleared of all charges. The only reason he has a place to live is the shitty $150K the state awarded him after fighting the system for 5 years, and has land his mother gave to him when she died while he was in prison. He still can't find much work and is barely living off of what was given to him. Not to mention, he gets taken advantage of by our lovely family members on his side of the family that are heroin addicts and general garbage. I find that nothing else was done for him deeply disturbing. He continues to pay for something that he never did. One of every 100 people is a psychopath. That is why I only associate with 99 people. Then it's you. There was an episode of Mythbusters that has scarred me for life, testing whether a penny dropped from the Empire State Building can heal someone on the ground. The answer was no. However, during the investigation, they learned that the janitors at the building clean up change all the time that has been thrown off the observation deck and lands on the patios below. Like hundreds of coins a year. Maybe thousands. Which means that hundreds of tourists, in just New York alone, attempt murder each year out of pure curiosity about whether they can do it. 3 sailors were trapped in the USS West Virginia for 16 days after the attack on Pearl Harbor with no chance of rescue. People around the site listened to them try to signal by tapping until one day, they stopped. Here's the story.